हेलो एवरीबॉडी और आप सबका स्वागत है क्रिकेट क्रॉनिकल्स विद चंद्रेश में. टुडे वी हैव another special guest on our show. Let's start the show with this intro. Hello, everybody, and it's my privilege to introduce you to our guest today, former India cricketer, former India women's head coach, and also somebody who was involved with IPL with Kings 11 Punjab, known as Punjab Kings, and also with the champion side of Kolkata Knight Riders in 2013 and 14, Mr. W.V. Raman. Sir, welcome to the chat. Thanks a lot for sparing some valuable time from your busy schedule to chat with us.
Thanks a lot for having me on the show, and quite obviously, it's my delight to be here.
Uh, Sir, I just want to know, just focused on the your stint in the IPL. You had 2 years in the IPL, one with Kings 11 Punjab and one with Kolkata Knight Riders. First, focusing only on the Kings 11 Punjab stint, how did it come about, and how different was it from coaching that you had done previously?
A couple of months leading up to the IPL in 2013, I got a call asking me if I would be interested in taking up a gig as an assistant coach because the Kings 11 Punjab, as it was called then, was looking for somebody to assist Darren Lehman. And I said, yes, why not give it a shot? And that's how it came about. And the thing was that it all happened at the last minute, as it were. And to be honest, you don't really do much of coaching when you're a part of the IPL side, and especially when you're drafted into the setup just 1 week before the team is supposed to assemble. And even into the season, it's all about managing the ebbs and flows of emotions and also trying to keep the morale up and trying to keep the players in good space mentally and then try and help them out if they're working out on something specific to try and do that in the matches to attain some extra success than the previous editions or the previous games. And that's exactly what you do more than anything else.
And in term, you spoke about the IPL coaching. Is it difficult then as a coach to get things going? Because say if you're with a Ranji side or with any other side, you have enough time, lead in time, and then enough time to build because you're there for a reasonable length of time with the side. So in that sense, is a coaching gig at the IPL, for example, or any franchise league, the toughest job for any coach?
Every job has its challenges, and quite obviously, when you're dealing with the state side, you get appointed well in advance, and you know what needs to be done. You know how much time frame you have, and you also spend a lot of time with the boys even before the season starts. So what happens there is that you get a feel of what the boys are all about. You get into their heads in a manner of speaking, and they also interact a lot more with you, which means that you develop a bit of a bond and you create a little bit of trust as well amongst the boys and girls as well if you're dealing with the state sides. So then it becomes relatively easier as you're getting into the season or as you're getting into the preparatory camps. And that is a luxury that you don't have in the IPL setup because people from different parts of the world get together in a short span of time and then they got to somehow um, come together as a unit and stay together as a unit and perform, which means that generally the challenge is all about making an impression on the players because they need to realize or understand that you know what you're talking about and you are capable of helping them out in a high profile tournament like IPL. And that's a big challenge for coaches who take up the job. And also, it's even bigger challenge if you are a functional coach or you're in the second rung of the ladder, if I can use that term. If you're the head coach, then everything is obviously emanating from you. But then what happens if you're an assistant coach or a functional coach? You got to have a lot of coordination going, and you're also supposed to keep a track of everything that's being conveyed by the other coaches as well, so that you don't end up saying something contradictory. So that's another big challenge there if you're a functional coach. But at the end of the day, people can say it's all about cricket, but again, the point is that it's all about trying to uh, do things in a very very short span of time and do it very effectively, and you also perhaps need to have a little bit of good instincts as well, and this is where experience comes in handy. If you've done quite a few coaching gigs, then you know exactly what it is that you need to do, what you need not do. That becomes even more important in the IPL setup. More than doing what you need to do, you're better off not doing a few things.
So, in a sense, would you say that an Indian coach in an IPL setup is like a bridge between the major part of the squad, which is the 17 or 18 Indian players, and the other setup, which if it's a overseas head coach or overseas coaching staff, does the job of an Indian coach become that much more important then, because you're like the bridge between the two?
And you also get drummed up from both ends as well. So that is something that some people have experienced as well. I'm not saying I experienced that. It's all about the kind of rapport you strike with the other people that you work with in the support staff. And the important thing is that as you get into a setup, it's better that your listening to talking ratio is on the highest side, so that you get a feel of what exactly that is expected of you, and also what is that the head coach wants or the management wants, and how they want to go about it. So you need to know how the head coach is planning to run the ship, and then try and do things accordingly. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit of a non-starter. And the worst thing that can happen is that if four people involved as coaches in the side are looking at different directions, so that's something that the coaches have to be wary about. But generally, what happens is that once the team gets together and the matches start happening, there's hardly any time for anybody to really sort of do about uh, enhancing the skills or even trying to uh, change the mindsets of players, because they will come with their own expectations. They'll come with their plans. You need to try and have a dialogue with them, try and see what it is that they're expecting to do, what it is that they're planning to get out of the tournament individually, and also what it is that they are better off doing for the team. So you need to try and have a clear understanding of what exactly is going on inside the players' minds as well.
And there's always been talk about the fact that IPL squads have got massive coaching setups. Uh, i- is it a function of the fact that you have such massive playing squad that you need to have a massive coaching squad, or do you think that it's an essential part to have, because the head coach himself cannot be managing the whole stuff?
See, the decisions made in an IPL team setup is a mixture of commerce and cricket. When I say commerce, primarily is the business houses, which obviously are bid for the franchisee. They've got it and they are spending the money, and they obviously would want nothing less than a title. And you obviously have to do whatever it takes to win the title. There's nothing wrong with it. But the only thing is that uh, practicality and theory don't always necessarily go hand in hand. Whatever it is that you can think of, whatever it is that you think of implementing, or whatever that is you plan, may not necessarily transpire accordingly in each and every game or right through the season. But the important thing here is that it's a good integration of business and sport, and what is important here is that both these spheres need to glean of each other. Neither side can be rigid. Primarily because what happens is that the sports persons or the coaches are more used to taking the losses and the victories on an even keel. They don't get too excited if they win, they don't get too dejected when they lose. But it may not be the same when you look at people who come from a corporate background and who are more driven to produce results. And obviously, everybody has got to absorb some kind of pressure here, and be it the corporate honchos who are given the responsibility of handling the team, or the coaches who are a part of the setup to try and ensure that the team produces the results on the field. But the important thing here is that both spheres need to feed off each other. As I said earlier, the businessmen need to try and understand what exactly the dynamics in sports are, in as much as the coaches and the others who are a part of the leadership group when it comes to cricket and all the other decisions relating to cricket, that they need to understand that the business managers think differently. So they got to try and also understand the dynamics of what it takes to understand the dynamics that drive the business and also their decision making and also their objectives.
Can you share some anecdotes from your year at Kings 11 Punjab of anything that you worked with a particular player that came off very well and your rapport with the coach and captain at the time?
Yeah, a couple of instances. What happens there is that when it's everything's on the go, 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 and there came a situation where David Miller was a part of the squad. He was obviously one of the youngest players in that particular setup, and there came a stage there where he had to be given a break. And I went and had a chat with Boof, that's Darren Lehman, and suggested that he bring in Pup, as we called him then, David Miller, instead of Thomas Bosch. And quite obviously, Darren Lehman had seen a lot more of Thomas Bosch than he had seen of David Miller. So he wanted to try and prolong the tenure of Thomas Bosch in the 11. In those days, you didn't have the impact player rule, so you need to give 11 and stick to that 11. And uh, eventually, Pup got in, and then he did not have a great game first up, but then he got a scintillating century against the RCBS. Of course, he did right on his luck, but again, the kind of shots that he played and the kind of breathtaking pyrotechnics that he unleashed that night was tremendous. And that was the start of David Miller. And similarly, there came a game, I think it was against the Mumbai Indians, and there's a possibility that we might get turners out there in the at the Wankhede Stadium. And Gilly was looking to leave himself out of the 11, and I was steadfast in telling him that he needed to play because there's a possibility that the keeper had to be good because the Mumbai Indians could give a turning track. The other option we had was Gurkirat Maan, and that could not have been a great option on a turner because you cannot obviously let go of an experienced keeper like Gilchrist. And of course, Gilchrist even thought of dropping himself because he felt I have to be fair to the others in the side. When I'm not getting the runs that are required of me, there's no point in me playing the 11 again and again. So these are things, that you need to try and have a chat about and not really sort of discuss it in depth. It's just something that you do in a snappy manner and get on with it.
And how was it working with, you mentioned a lot about Adam Gilchrist. How was it working with Adam Gilchrist his final year in the IPL?
Very
Very.
open, very open, very fair, and he was always one who had the interest of the team at heart, and that is something that endeared him to everybody, and that's obviously something that you would find in a lot of guys who played a lot of cricket who performed over a period of time. They always try and ensure that the interest of the team is protected. It is the same with Jacques Callis a year later at the KKR, but that's a common denominator of a lot of cricketers who primarily put everything behind, and it's all about the team's interest that comes first.
Was it a very emotional moment when he finally ended up playing his last game? He bowled a bit as well. Was it all very emotional for all of you in the dressing room?
Well, you won't call Gilly emotional. He was always one who was looking at the lighter side of things, and he was always one who wanted everybody to enjoy whatever it is that they did. And the fact was that he was reconciled to the fact that he had to stop playing this game at some stage or the other. So there was obviously nothing emotional about his exit. But he enjoyed himself and he picked up a wicket as well, I think, if I remember right. But
Yeah, yeah.
the, the thing is that he decided to enjoy to the fullest, knowing very well that it was going to be his last game in a competitive environment.
Before your coaching stint with Punjab, Kings 11 Punjab, you're also coach of Bengal, and then you later became coach of Tamil Nadu as well. Stephen Fleming once told me that when he was captain, he would go off to English county cricket and coach Northants or Nottinghamshire, if I'm not mistaken, so that he refreshes himself and gets better with his ideas. Does that work similarly with coaches as well? That these stints that you were doing in between your IPL roles, they would refresh you as well.
You always learn. Nobody can say he's learned whatever there is to be learned. And this is where people have to understand one thing here. You could have dropped out of school, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop learning. Education is one thing, learning is another thing. So the the theory of Stephen Fleming is something that everybody would subscribe to, because the more you talk cricket to others, the more you interact with them as a coach or as a captain or even as a player of the squad. You keep learning all the time, even as you are imparting or as you are trying to share your knowledge. So that's something that everybody really enjoys, because discussions off the field or obviously one way where players can really feed off each other and learn a lot of things and really improve. And let's not forget that this is the only form of coaching that we could have had, that of exchanging notes in the 80s and stuff, because there was no videos for you to see, there was no multimedia coaching that was available for you. So you had to discuss with others, you had to sit and you would sit in a bar, have a drink. When I say drink, it doesn't really mean that you get sloshed out of your mind. You could even have a glass of juice and have a lot of discussions about cricket. And that's how you learned cricket. You kept talking to people as much as possible. And that's how you tried to understand what it is that you need to do better, what it is that you're doing well enough.
Then the switch to Kolkata Knight Riders. How did that come about?
Once again, there was a shuffle of personnel in Kings 11 Punjab the following year. And then KKR was obviously looking to rope in somebody who could be of value to them. And the thing was that a few months prior to that, Gautam had called me to work with him. And I went to Delhi for about 20 days, each trip of 10 days or something like that. And then we worked quite a bit. And it was totally unexpected. Again, it came about 2 months before the start of the season. I was asked if I would be interested in being the batting coach. And then I went and obviously joined. And then I was even part of the leadership group, which took an active part in the auctions, and there are a lot of interesting decisions made. And I was, as usual, a bit disruptive in the sense that I knew quite a few things about the players that they were really keen on having in the setup. And when I say I was disruptive, I was like obviously laying bare everything about each and every player that I had seen, that I had known. And it has to be said that it proved to be of great use during the auction. And as it turned out, eventually, what was perhaps being discussed, what was perhaps even almost decided 2 days prior to the auction, was completely different to what we came out from the auction. So that's how it goes, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do if you're a part of a setup. You can't just stay in a setup and twiddle your thumbs.
And it was a very strong core that you were working with, and which did well for a pretty long period of time at Kolkata.
Yeah, they had won 2 years earlier. They had won the title in 2012, and then obviously 2014 was a very unique season. I think it should go down as one of the unique seasons in the IPL for the simple reason that KKR coming out of the UAE didn't look like even notching up about double digits in terms of points. And then we were waiting for one victory. And then it was curious that none of us really spoke much about what to do. We all, in a tacit manner, were sure that it'll probably make a huge difference once we won one game. And there came a stage as well where we felt, oh, it's getting a bit too late now. But fortunately, a win came at the right time, and then I think that still stays a record as far as the consecutive victories are concerned. I think we won about 14 before we got thrashed in the final of the Champions League by Chennai Super Kings. And Suresh Raina, the spoiled sport, he was about 80 or something like that during the power play. Who gave him the license to do that?
So, so the tournament was in two halves in 2014. First half in UAE, second half in India. Uh, how was the first half like in your view? Does it present a different challenge?
No, what was something that I remember of that half in the UAE was the frustration in a way that all of us had. We were losing games chasing 130, 127, and that was obviously getting to us. Even though the thing was that nobody discussed about it, nobody ranted, nobody sort of uh, looked to dissect it. And the other thing that did not happen in the UAE was Gautam getting runs. He was not off the blocks yet in the UAE, but we are all sure it is just a case of one knock, and then once he starts, the train doesn't stop. And that's the kind of player Gautam was, because his consistency has been terrific, as all of us are aware of. And I remember having breakfast on the day we were leaving from the UAE with a friend, and he was asking about what KKR was going to do the following season. I said, wait, we still have a lot of things to do here. And I said, for the bowling lineup that we have, if our boys start getting 140, I'm sure that a lot of sides will struggle to knock them back. And okay, we're not talking about the 200 eras then. But again, the bowling lineup of KKR was formidable then. It was very efficient, and we had all the bases covered as well in terms of pace and in terms of spin too. So I said, if the batters start getting runs, I said we could go all the way. And he gave me funny looks, and he said, "I've never heard you being so romantic in life." I said, "No, no, 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 don't be in a hurry. It's a long drawn competition. Things can change, and things will change. I assure you on that." And I think the first message that I got after KKR won that year was from him. He said, "I still remember what he said when we had breakfast." So I said, "There you go."
And you quite a soothsayer because you could see what was coming. Is that was there something special that you saw that you felt uh, uh, that led to you predicting the turnaround?
No, it is surely on the basis of the kind of composition we had and what it is that they were capable of doing. You had Shakib Al Hasan, you had Piyush Chawla, you had Sunil Narine. That's the spin department, mind you. And Eden Gardens, those days, was dishing out surfaces where the spinners would get some help from the surfaces. So that's the kind of pitches we got there. And if it came to the fast bowling, we had Umesh Yadav, we had Morne Morkel, and I think we also had Pat Cummins, I think it was. Yes. And of course, we also had Andre Russell. So if you look at it, we had all the bases covered, and it's obviously bowling which is going to really ensure that the team's fortunes were really going to be better. And that's the reason why I said that, because we had an attack where we could do well not only on helpful tracks at Eden Gardens, but we had the wherewithal to also do things well at away venues as well. And that's the reason. If you looked at the batting lineup too, once Gautam and Uthappa started firing, that was curtains for the others. And Robin Uthappa opening for KKR was again a story of sorts. So uh, it was based primarily on the kind of side we picked. In fact, a lot of people told me after the side was picked, they said, "Oh, you stuck with the reputation of some players, and even though they've not been in good nick in the last 2, 3 seasons, you pick them on past reputation." I said, "No, it's not that. It's just that what it is that they're capable of doing, and there is no saying in T20 when a player is going to fire. Obviously, you take a kind of uh, the statistics that a player has put up, and based on which you make your assessments, and then try and say, okay, I want this guy because this is where I want somebody to be at his best, or this is where I want X, Y, or Z."
And that particular season, you had a varied coaching staff, Trevor Bayliss, Wasim Akram, and yourself. How was the bonding between the three of you?
Oh, terrific, terrific. There are no dramas. Trevor Bell is a bit of a reticent man. And then, of course, Jacques Carles, who is also a part of the leadership group. And he once again put the interest of the side ahead of his own interests. And then, of course, Gautam Gambhir would always be keen to listen to anybody suggesting something which he thought might be of value. And Wasim Akram, obviously, again, no dramas. And that's the reason why that entire setup uh, was so good, because you would go, you would talk cricket. There's no kind of frills and thrills. It is sheer cricket. Yes, if this is the issue, this is the solution. Let's get on with it. For example, there was a situation where Robin Uthappa was perhaps not too keen to keep wickets. He was told in no uncertain terms, "You need to keep wickets because we picked you for the simple reason you had so much of value as a batter come keeper." And it was just a case of somebody being told the first time around, and then everything would settle down. And that's the kind of communication that happened there. And it was not about favoritism, it was not about trying to establish an authority. It was just a case of telling people what exactly it is that they had to do for the side. And along those lines, it was a terrific group to work with, and it was a fantastic experience because some excellent and top-notch cricket discussions took place during that season.
And one trend that I've seen, and maybe you can correct me, is that the teams that have been successful have had captains who had strong presence, whether it is Shane Warne, Dhoni, Rohit Sharma, or Gautam Gambhir. Is that right? Because your side, Gautam Gambhir was really like the face of the side at that time and even now.
Rather than strong and rather than reputed cricketers, you're perhaps better off using the word aggressive captains who like to tell the opposition at any stage, yes, I am there to win this game. Doesn't matter what kind of situation you are in today or at this moment. You could be running away with it, you could be cruising, but still, those captains that you mentioned, they've always made very clear to the opposition side that no, there's not going to be a walk in the park. We will try and ensure that it is going to be a trudge in the mud right till the end. And that's the reason the sides have done well. You can't even for a moment be a bit hesitant in terms of your strategy or in terms of your demeanor in a T20 game, and especially in a tough tournament like IPL.
And the final was curiously against your former side, Kings 11 Punjab, and about whom you may have had some kind of inside track.
No, the point was that that was perhaps one rare occasion where a score of 200 plus was scored. And mind you, you're talking about, yes, the only thing saving grace was that it was in Bangalore, because anything was always gettable if you're chasing in Bangalore. And The other thing was that we all knew that if the KKR bowling unit could be put under the pump, and if a side can get 200, then it is well within our reach to do the same and go on to win the game. And that's exactly what happened. We were in no doubts at all once we walked off the field. The boys walked off the field, and I didn't see any kind of hesitation at all in any of those faces. They were just ready, prepared to go out and get on with it. And from a side which lost 6 wickets in scoring about 8 runs, I think it was against Rajasthan Royals at Ahmedabad, I think it was. And from there to where this side had come, primarily riding on the series of wins once the tide turned. And that's what victories does to a team. And that was fabulous.
And that final, because it was a very tense final, and we ended up winning the title in the final over. What was your emotion like when the final over started?
We were obviously delighted. It's just that we are not overjoyed because that was the side which went through the lows to start off with. We were very, very unsure as to what that year was going to be like at the halfway stage. And then we also, I think, had to really do the yards to qualify for the final as well. So if you go through all those things and then reach the final and then go on to win, you're not going to necessarily go crazy. I thought there was a kind of a matured celebration after winning the tournament. And I think it is a case of the KKR setup thinking that yes, I was not a part of the 2012 season. So most of them who were there in the 2012 season must have felt yes, we missed out last year. So it's just that we've done what we needed to do. It was a kind of a pragmatic uh, thought process going through their minds. So as I said, it is a kind of a measured and matured celebration.
And mentioned measured celebration. How was it with Shah Rukh Khan and the others that night or the following day?
Oh, he was obviously delighted. Everybody was delighted. And of course, so the party went early into the morning. There's no two ways about that because you finished the game past midnight. And those days, IPL obviously was synonymous with a lot of social activities as well. And of course, especially on the night of the final, there's going to be a lot of celebration, even though one side has to probably be a little bit um, careful about how they go about their celebrations, but still, it was fabulous. Everybody was happy and great fun.
Why haven't we seen you in the IPL in a coaching role after that? Obviously, you went on to bigger things with the Indian women's team and so on and so forth, and commentary as well. Why not back in the IPL?
After I did that season, what happened was that I took up that gig at the NCA, and that meant that you need to be off that IPL train, IPL loop, and then I went on to take up the charge of the Indian women's team again, which meant that you couldn't do the IPL. And then, of course, once I finished with the girls team in 21, I just changed my goalpost and got into commentating, which is something that I'm enjoying. I don't know about the viewers. I don't know what they think of what I do, but on a personal level, I'm enjoying myself. So the uh, curiosity to do different things and the fist to do different things is what drives me. It's what I'm all about. And I must say that the gods have been kind. I must also say the system has also been very encouraging. And I must thank a lot of people for giving me the kind of responsibilities that they have given. And no complaints. I've never had any, and not that I have any now. And I must say that it's not that I am done with coaching because I've been commentating in the last 3 years. Coaching is something that I would still relish, but it depends on what kind of a challenge it's going to provide, and what is it that I got to do, and what is it that I can perhaps bring to the table or to the side that I could be potentially handling.
If I were to put you on the spot, and if you were part of, if there was IPL in your time and there was an auction going on, how much do you think you would have been bid for by franchises? Because you brought a lot of things to the table.
I was brought up to go and play games and enjoy myself, and also try and do the best once you get onto the field. And money was something that is never ever equated with playing a game or representing a team. So that being the case, I think I may not perhaps give you half a decent answer.
Mr. Raman, thanks a lot for sparing your valuable time and talking with us. Really appreciate the chat, and it was quite informative and fun. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks a lot, and all the very best to you in your future endeavors as well. It is a pleasure talking to you too.
Thank you.